Capitol Hill to Wall Street. This is Politics and Profits with your host, Rick Amato.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Rick Amato. It's time for Politics and Profits.
We follow the trends on Capitol Hill that lead to the profits on Wall Street. We expose the hard facts of what your elected officials are doing when you're not looking. And we show you how you can profit from their politics. The American dream is alive and well, and you can be proud to call America your home. And now, it's Rick Amato.
Welcome to Politics and Profits. I'm Rick Amato. Well, of course, one of the prevailing issues in our culture today with this pandemic is suicide rates are up, depression, cases of anxiety and stress are at record levels in modern society. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, you can never talk enough about how to address those issues, given all the numbers that are out there, and how to improve that feeling, how to improve that mindset. Join me at this time from Washington, D.C. is one such individual who can do just that. He is author of the book called Stop Hiding, Start Healing. And he himself, he doesn't just write the book and talk the talk. In his own words, he has been through the pit of hell. He went through depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety some time ago. He is author, speaker, and recovery pastor. We'll find out what a recovery pastor is. Let me welcome Craig Brown. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. Great to be with you.
Before we get into what people are going through and how to cope with it, why don't you take a few moments here and tell our viewers, tell myself, what it is that you went through so we all understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I describe it as the pit of hell. Back in the early '80s, I took a job at an establishment in Washington D.C. that was it was a restaurant bar, and it was owned by the biggest cocaine dealer on the East Coast at that time. And for anybody that remembers the early '80s, cocaine dominated the party scene in most major cities and certainly around the country. And I was the 19, 20-year-old looking for, searching to belong, to be part of something. I needed a job. And little did I know, I got sucked up into that drug world. And I entered into what was, as a 19 and 20-year-old with no direction, no self-esteem, no self-control.
Sure.
Formula for, disaster.
Yeah.
And, so I got caught up in that, working at this business, and the owner is funneling money through this, and all the who's who in Washington, D.C. was coming through there. All the TV people, all Capitol Hill people, all, athletes and what have you. So I'm enamored with all that, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm into cocaine, alcohol, just on a path of dysfunction. And I operated that way for a long time until I was finally set free. And as a result of that, everything I am today, I've experienced in my book, as you mentioned, thank you, Stop Hiding, Start Healing, everything I put in there, I've experienced that and more. And I have a ton of empathy for people that are struggling with exactly what you opened with: suicide, depression, anxiety, and pain and hurt as a result of COVID. COVID wreaked havoc on people in recovery because it just took the rug out from under their face-to-face, heart-to-heart recovery. It caused them, it forced them into isolation and to be online. And it worked to a degree, but it was also helpful, but very hurtful. And that was that the results, the things, the struggles you mentioned were and are at a very elevated level. And I've experienced practically all of them. And so I come from, in my heart, and that's what I've been doing for the last 22 years, as you mentioned, as a recovery pastor. That is my passion, and that is to help others avoid the pit of hell, or if they're in there, okay, let's help you discover a way out.
Well,
So that's what I've dedicated my life to for the last 22 years, helping people that are struggling with all those issues.
let me ask you real quick. You mentioned a lot of celebrities came through that bar that was dealing in cocaine. Did the members on Capitol Hill, were they aware that it was a cocaine haven?
I oh, sure. Well, yeah. I mean, we had sons and daughters of congressmen, senators. Everybody. It was that place.
Wow.
When you have the guy that's supplying the entire East Coast, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be able to find something there.
Right.
In Northwest Washington D.C. And it was well known. I mean, it was well known, and it was just one of those environments, and there were many around the city. But again, everything was being laundered through this restaurant bar. And
all right, Craig.
So we were hanging out with some pretty notable people.
Your book again, Stop Hiding, Start Healing. What advice do you mentioned it's isolation as a key element, which is causing people to distress and depression. When I look at the title, Stop Hiding, Start Healing, I'm going to believe you're going to say, don't suppress your feelings, address them. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. We learn how to suppress our feelings early on in life, in our family dynamic, whatever we grew up in. We learned coping mechanisms and coping skills when we were young, how to deal with pain, how to deal with hurt, how to deal with abandonment, how to deal with abuse and betrayal. We learned without even a manual. We learned how to develop ways to escape. We developed ways how to hide. We developed these. It was natural. It was perfectly natural. And what I have seen is that people take these coping mechanisms into their youth or young adult life and adult life, and they become very unhealthy.
Yeah,
very unhealthy because we haven't learned how to deal with the pain. My dad didn't come and put his arm around me and said, "Hey, son, let me just tell you how to deal with this pain and this issue and this issue and this issue." I didn't have that in my life. Some people do, and that is a blessing, but a majority of us don't. So yes, stop hiding, start healing. And the first chapter,
we're gonna take because I want to make sure we get this full explanation. We're going to take a break here.
Okay.
And on the other side of this break, we'll come back with Craig Brown for a few more minutes and get his advice on how to start healing. Broadcasting from the Liberatory CPA studios. Back with more after this. All right, welcome back to Politics and Profits. Stop Hiding, Start Healing. That's the name of the book by my guest, Craig Brown, who joins us from Washington, D.C. Craig, just before the break, you're about to go into advice you have for those people who are hurting today, and the pandemic is adding to the angst, if you will. Go ahead.
Yeah. The encouragement I give those that I've served for the last 22 years, but anybody for that matter that's struggling, I tell them everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Fear is a major, major obstacle for us in all, any area of our life, in our profession, in our marriage, in our relationships, in our finances. Fear is a very huge barrier for a lot of people. And so is pain. Okay. Now, the first chapter of my book is until the pain is greater than your fear. When the pain is greater than your fear, you're ready to take on any challenge, because that is, and that's common for most of us. But a lot of people, again, as we mentioned earlier, we're prone to run from pain, right? We're prone to give into fear. But the whole point of the book is to discover how you can pivot and stop running from it, stop hiding from it, and work through it. And it happened in my own life when I stopped hiding and began to heal. I've seen it happen in thousands of people's lives that finally got to the point where the pain was so great that they were ready to do whatever it took to get well. And I'm not talking only about addiction. I'm talking about, marriage issues, life struggles, life issues, relationship issues, dealing with the stress, anxiety, depression. When it gets to a certain level and you're no longer afraid to change, you're no longer afraid to think about what someone may think of you, and you overcome that and become more transparent and a little bit vulnerable and honest. Oh man, Rick, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to see that happen in people's lives. And now, as you open the show, suicide, depression, anxiety, all those issues. If your listeners, your viewers are struggling with any of those items, any of those issues, right? There is a way. There is a way to come out of hiding. There is a way to deal with the pain. There is a way to get on a track.
Give us one example. In the interest of time, keep it brief, and give us one example what someone can pivot to do.
Find someone, find a network, find an organization, find a healthy church, find a healthy Christ-centered recovery ministry. Now notice, I'm talking about healthy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's not just anybody. And this is why people isolate. They say to themselves, there's no one there that can help me. Number one. Number two, there's no one that understands.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but there is, right?
That makes sense.
And it has to be people you trust and people that are safe.
I get a lot of feedback from time to time where viewers say their children are going through a tough time. Earlier, you mentioned you didn't have that father put the arm around you and talk to you. And as you said, a lot of parents don't know what to say. What should they be saying?
That's one of the most difficult situations that I have witnessed, observed, been a part of, and then parents who have adult children or younger children that struggle. Very, very difficult. First of all, they're somewhat in denial. They're also enablers a lot of the times. And a lot of times parents have to get out of the way. They have to get out of the way. Advice I was given early on as a dad is that you got to let your children experience pain, disappointment, discouragement, failure. If we continue to rescue them all their life, they're never going to be equipped to be able to handle those issues. And every situation, there's some similarities, but they're also very different ones as well. Really good, really awesome, healthy families have people that have sons, daughters that struggle. Why? Because the son and daughter made a decision to do something, made a poor decision. That's not the parents' fault. The parents have instilled, responsibility, value, character, integrity as best they can. But it really, Rick, everything we do in life, it's a choice. It's a choice. And generally the younger generation, like myself, back in the early days, we want to fit in. We want to fit in.
Right.
And unfortunately, if the young person, the young adult, whoever that may be, is not equipped with good self-discipline, self-control, a good value system, they more often than not are going to lean towards give into the temptation. And it happens all the time. But for parents, there are a number of resources available to find help for their loved ones. All
right, Craig Brown, an important topic in life anytime. It just happens to be at the forefront right now under this situation. When we bring you back next time, I'd like to, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe that the polarization being put forth by the media and certain political parties is adding to depression and angst. I'm going to talk to you about that next time we have you on.
That'd be great. Yep, absolutely.
The book is called Stop Hiding, Start Healing. The author is Craig Brown. Craig, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, back with more of Politics and Profits after this.
Politics and Profits with Rick Amato is brought to you by Liberatory Accounting, the IRS problem solvers. To find out how Liberatory Accounting can help you, call 877-6-SOLVER. That's 877-6-SOLVER.